Welcome, listeners, to Through the Sightglass, a podcast that dives deep into the fascinating world of craft beer and celebrates the incredible individuals who shape its vibrant landscape. Join us on a journey where we explore the nuances of this amazing industry and the remarkable people who contribute to its richness and diversity. And today we get to sit down with Gus and Richard of Recluse Brew Works. Thank you guys for giving us your time. We really appreciate it.
Hey, happy to be here.
Wonderful.
At our brewery.
Yeah.
Happy to have you here. Is it more appropriate?
So again, we like to start off. Where did you guys grow up? What do you call home?
I grew up in a town called Sandusky, Ohio. My dad owned a little print shop there, and then when I was in high school, he changed careers to be like a marine surveyor.
Oh, wow.
Which is like just checking to see if boats are good to be bought. I think I don't know that much about what he was actually doing, but I think most of what it was is like insurance claims, making sure there's not fraud.
Yeah.
Oh,
everything.
I see.
Or that was his favorite because it was like solving a mystery. Like somebody's boat would sink, and he'd be like, "Well, they pulled the plug and then walked away." So.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's wild.
A little sleuthing action.
Yeah. Mom was a stay-at-home mom. One older sister, Lily. 2 years apart. 2 years 8 days.
Nice.
Apart. So yeah. Lots of animals. Always multiple dogs, cat, guinea pigs, rats, lots of fish, weird stuff.
No,
Plants.
I get it. Like,
Yeah.
anything to keep you guys entertained.
Yeah. And then in high school, we even got chickens one summer. While it was the summer my parents were driving my sister to college, my buddy and I were like, "Let's build a chicken coop." And we're like, "Well, if we're gonna build a coop, might as well get some chickens." So we went down to Tractor Supply and got a half a dozen chickens
Oh my gosh.
and raised them all summer. And then we realized we don't know what to do with them in the winter. We got to go to school. So we had
This I like this thought out plan.
So we gave one away to be eaten because it was like a big, like it was already like, I don't know, 6 pounds. I mean, that's big for a chicken.
Yeah.
It was big. So we gave that one away. And then our across the street neighbors, their family owned a egg farm. And they were like, we can't guarantee that they're going to be accepted in the flock because chickens are like ruthless.
Yeah, they'll kill if they don't.
But they tried to introduce them. It seemed like 3 out of the 4 made it there. And then we had 2 bantams left behind. And the one got snatched by a coyote, and the other one succumbed when somebody fertilized their lawn.
Oh,
Yeah, it was a bummer. That one
some-
was. This is how chaotic my house was. That one was sleeping on top of the kitchen fridge at night. So it'd go outside all day, and then my mom would just call it, and it would come home and
Sleep on
Like a
top of
sleep
the
on
pet?
top of the fridge.
That's
so
weird.
weird.
That's,
Yeah.
this is like a rambunctious house. I
Yeah,
like this. It's like similar. I grew up in a split family, but my dad's house was kind of like that. We didn't have necessarily as many chickens, but definitely just like in and out animals, in and out, kind of farm lifey. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is not at all on the farm. We lived on Sandusky Bay, which is part of Great Lake Erie. So it's just like a cul-de-sac-y, kind of suburban feeling neighborhood, and we just had this chaos going on. I know some of the older neighbors hated us, but
That's even better.
Yeah.
You brought
you're
color
doing
to
something
it.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very
And then what
cool.
about you, Richard? Where'd you grow up?
How do I follow that up?
No, it's not a competition. We want to hear
Born
it.
and raised in Hialeah, Florida, and this is the 7th state I've lived in. Growing up, wild animals in Florida. Weirdest pets we had: spider monkey. There was
Ooh,
a
nice.
baby gator for like a week. That was a terrible idea in the Everglades. Its name was Crocky.
Oh my
But
gosh.
yeah, that's about it. Nothing.
How do you
long-term.
follow that up and then you say spider monkey?
yeah, what?
Yeah.
Its name was Baby.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
Yeah, so my only sibling is my sister. She's my only family outside of my wife's family.
Okay.
But she's the reason I'm in craft beer. She used to be the director of the Oregon Brewers Guild, Christina LaRue.
Oh,
She
nice.
got me interested in this, so that's why I'm here now.
Yeah.
Wonderful,
very cool.
wonderful. Well, shout out older sisters.
Gus, how did you get into craft beer?
I mean, I always like drinking beer. Shocker. Who doesn't? But, I mean, I grew up in our household. I feel like I've said this a million times. It was like a Miller Lite household where it's just the garage fridge was just always full of Miller Lights and maybe like some Coca-Cola. So kids don't do this, but I was still like, you're sneaking some beers in high school. You're just, you're drinking 2 Miller Lights. And you're like,
Explorative.
yeah. And I still actually kind of enjoy it. maybe it's just nostalgia, but I think it's a pretty decent beer.
Like you sneak in your own house, like when
Yeah,
somebody's
yeah,
asleep
yeah.
to your own garage.
Ooh, yeah, no one can know. And then I went to college in Ypsilanti, Michigan, at Eastern Michigan University, and as college kids do, you get into a little drinking, and at that point in time, Bell's is still huge, but
Okay.
Bell's was already
Just a lot of
pretty
Bell's beer.
big, yeah.
Nice. Like Two Hearted or
A lot of Two Hearted. Oberon Day was always a big
Oh, yeah.
celebration, which is so funny in like Michigan because in northern Ohio, southern Michigan, because it's the the spring equinox, right? Like it's the first day of spring, which still sucks in Michigan. And it's like snowing half the time. And you're like,
yeah.
hey, happy spring, and there's snow's falling.
Coming
like,
down,
"Let's
being
drink some
cold."
Oberon.
Yeah.
That's wild.
And then there was Arbor Brewing had a little their corner brewery in Ypsilanti that we'd always go to, and I loved that. Even though looking back, I'm like, man, a lot of those beers were really questionable. I mean, I'm sure they're great now, but
yeah.
But when you're drinking, you're like, I just want the strongest one possible, and you're like, that wasn't. Why was I doing that? Those weren't even the good one. Anyway.
Yeah.
That's just not my palate.
You don't. Yeah,
So,
you just didn't have that conscience back then.
Yeah.
Back then it was like drinking was associated with having a good time. It's almost like eating a meal just to get full. You didn't care
for
how
sure.
it tasted.
And
yeah.
then Shorts Soft Parade was always really big.
Oh, okay.
It's like a fruited. I think it's 6.5%, 7%, which at the time is like, oh wow, a 7% beer.
Is that an IPA or what was it?
I can't even remember. I think it was just a fruited wheat beer. That
Oh,
was
okay,
higher
gotcha.
ABV. I'm sure they still make it or maybe they moved on to something else. This is 10 years ago now.
Yeah.
15 years ago now, but yeah. And then I think so that was just dipping my toe in the water of craft beer. And then after college, I met my wife in college. We were both on the swim team at Eastern Michigan, so we met there. And then after school, we just stayed in around Metro Detroit and got jobs. She got a job working for Ford for a short period, and then this company called Tube Mogul, which was online advertisement placement.
Okay.
And I got a job at Team Detroit, which is Ford's ad agency doing data analytics.
Oh,
And then
okay.
I moved over to this company called Latcha and Associates, another ad agency doing stuff for Audi. It's all auto industry in Detroit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Connected
Understandable.
somehow, but
a lot of business marketing and technology was your
Yeah.
focus in college.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I studied actuarial science and economics.
Oh, okay.
I was a math nerd. So I just love solving puzzles. So I
Yeah.
was like, oh, I can go just solve puzzles for a living. I can
Get
do
paid.
math and get paid. And I'm like, that's cool. So we were doing that, and we moved to this town called Ferndale, which is right up on 9 Mile in Woodward. So the first suburb out of Detroit. And there was this little shop called M Brew that was right across the street from us on Bester Street. And growlers were huge then. So
Oh,
we
yeah.
just go down there. It's a block away, grab growler. And really started getting into it. But I wasn't homebrewing or anything. I was just, really liked being able to taste different things.
Oh,
you know?
gotcha. Yeah.
And different flavors other than just yellow fizzy beer or crazy strong ridiculous beer. Because that was those were the first two things. So getting a little bit more nuance that way. And then we moved to Chicago because my wife's work took us there. And Chicago's really where I kind of was oh man,
That's a good beer
this
city.
is real. This
Yeah.
is a thing. I really
Great beer
enjoy
city.
this.
Yeah.
I was also growing up a little bit. I was out of my early 20s into my mid 20s, and you're I don't need to be pouring it back all the time. I
Yeah.
can sit down and relax and enjoy one or two and go about my life and still feel great and have good times. I don't need to be crazy
Yeah.
out of my mind all the time. But I loved Off Color there, still do. Apex Predator was probably one of the beers that made
Yeah.
me think dude, I should homebrew. This is awesome.
Oh,
I would
yeah.
love to see if I could do something like this. So yeah, my wife Wes bought me a homebrewing kit for Christmas one year, and I did it. And I was working at this technology startup called ParkWiz, doing data analytics, and I was just I wasn't super happy doing it, and I kind of was coming to the realization that it was my fault for not being happy. It wasn't the work. Everybody around me was happy. I had an awesome boss who let me get away with way too much.
You just lost interest.
Yeah, I was just sitting at my desk all day,
Dreaming about homebrewing.
Dreaming about homebrewing. I don't know. I felt I wasn't moving my body enough. College athlete, so I was so I'll move my body. I loved homebrewing too, the smells, the process, everything. And then there was Siebel in town too,
Oh wow, yeah.
So I was like, I'm just gonna quit and go to Siebel. And luckily, my wife wasn't like, "What are you thinking?" She was like, "Yeah, do it." She's like, "You hate work. Like
Yeah.
you just complain all day long. Like, why are you doing this to you? Why are you doing this to me? Like, go do what
Yeah.
you want to do."
Yeah, supportive
Um,
partners
yeah.
are much needed.
So, and then it also, I had a buddy, Tommy Stamper, shout out, who we were home brewing together, and
Mhm.
yeah, really pushed it forward to where I was like, yeah, why wouldn't I do this? Like, why couldn't I?
Yeah.
Like, I did, like, at the very least, just to wash kegs, mop the floors, be in a brewery. Like, I just loved sitting around, not even like going and getting lunch and maybe having one beer and just like poking my head back and like spying.
Just
on
kinda see
people
what they're
brew.
doing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just love the process of it.
Yeah.
So I did that, and then like the day after the Chicago portion of Siebel ended, like half the class is going off to Germany to go to Dumans, to go do that whole thing. My wife and I had decided to move from Chicago to Portland, and so that ended. We packed all our stuff up and hopped in the car and drove out to Portland. And 2 months later, I landed at Widmer. And
Oh wow,
yeah,
that's awesome.
yeah, it worked out really well. I didn't think it was going to happen so quick, and I'm really thankful. I mean, I chafed under some of the more corporate aspects of what goes on there, but I don't think I could have landed in a better first spot just to like learn
Yeah.
the processes, to learn what it takes to like prove like, okay, this is what I want to do, because I was stuck on nights for, almost 2.5 years. So I'm
Yeah.
like, all right, if you can make it through that, you really love this, because yeah.
100%. Yeah, having that curiosity, and it's cool that the stars aligned. I think it's okay to say that you're lucky, but also I think sometimes the universe responds to that, being like, you're not happy here. You figured that out and kind of being like, I like moving my body. I don't want to sit at a desk all day.
Yeah.
And this interests me. I mean, I think a lot of us, that's how we all got into it. Did you start off like washing kegs? Were you like very bottom? I assume with your Siebel degree, you would do something more than that. So where did you start at?
Started in the Bright Cellar. So
Okay.
Widmer's, it is a very cool brewery. When I was there, we were cooling in like 235 barrels at a time, like multiple turns into a lot of tanks. There's a lot of different size tanks,
Yeah.
fermenters and everything. But then there's a tunnel across the street on Russell Street, and on the other side of the street is all the bright tanks and the centrifuges and the filters.
Yeah, yeah.
So when you start brewing there, or at least when I started, when you start there, you start in the Bright Cellars, running the centrifuge, learning how to run the filter. Most of what you're doing for the first couple months is just cleaning bright tanks.
Yeah.
So I did that, and then worked my way up into the brew house, and then there was like some turnover. So for a while, I was like not a lead brewer, but it was only me and one other person, and we were running this brewery at night.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was cool. It was a cool experience to be like, I could really mess up. Don't mess up. Don't make
Yeah.
any mistakes, because we're making a lot of beer. There's a lot. It felt like a lot. I mean, it's just beer at the end of the day, but it feels like a lot's at stake.
No, absolutely. Especially a big, production brewery like
Yeah.
that. I think if people are getting into craft beer and really want to learn the trade, it's hard to advocate for it, because I know, especially if you don't have experience, you can get taken advantage of in terms of pay. But like definitely starting at a production brewery, you get the fast track to education, and they let you know your ceiling as well really quickly. Whether that starts with kegging and going into production and being like a can operator, all that, they'll let you know, be like, if you want to do these other things, this is the track you take, and you can either apply it at that place or go somewhere else to seek other opportunities.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's I recommend anybody who wants to be a brewer, I mean, do it however you want, right? Just do it. Just do it, first of all, but
Yeah.
second of all, if you really want to get into it and make it a career, go to a big production facility for at least a little bit, because there's so much to be learned, and the pay is probably better than most other places. There's definitely downsides, but
Yeah.
sometimes you got to take the good with the bad.
Absolutely.
For sure.
And Richard, so going into you, because we just covered a lot with your journey into craft beer.
Yeah.
So what was like, high school and college and those inspirations? What was that like for you?
Well, first, I want to give Gus a shout out with his previous career experience, because with his data background, he's a whiz at spreadsheets. So we don't even have to pay for like brewery software.
Yeah.
He just creates his own spreadsheets.
I was going to ask
It's
how
amazing.
your previous experience goes into that, so that makes sense. So
All
Richard,
relevant.
Yeah, all relevant. for
All
sure.
super helpful.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm a little too confident with it, but we'll find out.
No, it
The
seems
numbers
to
are
yeah.
looking
The
good so
numbers
far.
are looking
Yeah,
good.
it seems to be working.
Yeah, inventory looks right every month when we count it.
Yeah.
So hey, something's working.
Exactly.
There
Good.
you go.
No, my path was totally different. But we have a lot of overlap where we both were in Chicago. We both were in advertising.
Oh, wow.
I, however, was an art director, a senior art director at an agency called Leo Burnett in Chicago. And then I moved over, instead of Portland, I moved with my wife from Chicago to Seattle.
Oh, okay.
Gotcha.
And I was at a retail store that still semi-exists called Sur La Table. And I was art director there. And then eventually I just kind of, before I burnt out of that industry, I wanted to get into craft beer.
Mhm.
But I did not have an interest in brewing so much because we never had the space. Or my wife didn't think we had the space.
Oh,
to
there
be
you go.
fair. And I trust Rebecca's judgment, so
Yeah.
she was probably right. And the amount of cleaning that you have to do. So that was never my interest. I did have an interest in serving, though, and the knowledge and everything else. So while I was still employed as an art director, I got my first level Cicerone certification. So I had that because I knew I didn't have any experience. I thought about buying a bar that came up for sale, and I realized I don't know how to do that, so I'm going to get a job first. So I applied. I got a job real quick. I quit my job, and then I just kept going from there. I was very lucky that the place that I landed sucked. It was terrible. I won't name them. They still exist in Seattle.
It taught you a lot of good lessons, is what it
a
sounds
lot of
like.
lessons
Yeah,
on
yeah.
what
Sleep it out.
not to do. Like, hey, maybe if you get kegs, you should cold store them.
Oh, yeah, basic.
All those things.
Yeah.
And don't teach someone how to clean lines during service hours.
Yeah.
But anyway, my friend Nick Berger, I don't know how to say his name, even though he's my friend. Nick Berger in West Seattle was opening up a brewery called the Good Society, and he needed help. So I went in and helped him there.
Oh, nice.
So that was a great experience because we did this like 2 months before COVID hit.
Oh, wow.
So you get that experience of opening a brewery with a friend, like what does this look like, and how do you pivot?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And then I brought that to Denver, managed a brewery in Denver called Lady Justice, which is a wonderful woman and queer-owned brewery in Colorado.
Oh, awesome.
And then hated Colorado. It was the worst for me. I was not happy there. Outside of Lady Justice being awesome.
Yeah.
Then moved to Portland with my wife. We bought a house in Portland, and that's where we live now.
Okay.
And then made my way through Breakside, Migration, and other places, and finally met Gus. So,
There you go.
Okay,
and
rad.
This is the best. Gus is
Yeah.
rad. So
Heck yeah. Well, you two seem to have a good dynamic.
thanks.
And I like the balance of kind of like art and curating like a tap room and an experience. And then you love like, I mean, I bet you both love the science behind it, but like the puzzle solving and also the creativity and the exactness that you can produce back there is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the goal, at least. It doesn't always pan out the way you want it, but it's part of the fun. Right?
It happens. Yeah. We've had plenty of beers, or I shouldn't say I've had. You see breweries, I won't get into it, but they'll be like, yeah, these beers, we could just throw them in barrels and wait a couple of years and see what happens. It's like, oh man, if you don't think it's going to work, we could just dump it. And they're like, no, this might work though. Yeah, and then they get buried and just forgotten about.
Yeah, for sure. So how did you jumpstart into brewery ownership from being brewer into wanting to own something of your own?
Yeah, I guess I don't know. I always kind of had like the itch to run a business, and I think that might have been part of why I was not super into tech. Is like I was like I'm not inspired. Like I do like the work is cool and there's a lot of interesting problems, but I guess I kind of always wanted to do my own thing, and so I like I don't know. I didn't have the passion for it to like think up anything or to do anything, or there was nothing that was really like giving me that pull. So like when I got into brewing, I was like, I just want to brew, but it would be sweet to, maybe own something someday. So when I got to Widmer, I don't know, it was like kind of on my mind. I was like, maybe I'll do this, or maybe I'll do that. I'll do a little farmhouse brewery or whatever, and like
Just ideas
yeah,
and
just
inspiration
crazy
popping up.
ideas, and then spend enough time on nights that kind of turn into a zombie because you're not really getting like good sleep.
Yeah.
And, like,
Night shift is hard. You did it for
Yeah.
2.5 years, you said?
for the majority of it, I had like a
Okay.
couple like month-long stints off of it, but
Oh, I see. Okay, so your
Yeah.
2.5 year stint at Widmer, you did a
Nights
bunch of
for
months.
most
Okay,
of it, yeah.
Gotcha.
for the majority of it, and then my wife and I were like at the point where we wanted to start having kids, and I was like, I can't do that on night. Like I can't be on nights, and have a baby. It's
Yeah.
nuts. So I started looking, and I had already applied to Wayfinder once. So I applied again. They wanted like a delivery driver / cellar worker, and I was like, yeah, anything for sleep.
Yeah.
And I love their beer, and I'd like love to go learn there. And luckily it panned out, and I feel like I got like a really lucky time because both Lindsay Allen and Kevin Davey were there at the time.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I know
And they were
Lindsay
both-
from Freedom.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
both super helpful for me, like learning the more nuanced approach of like a smaller brewery and like how to like go talk to people, you know. And and then Kevin just like great on the brewing side. Working under him was awesome. I still consider him kind of my mentor.
Nice.
But yeah, spent about a little over 2.5 years at Wayfinder 2. And while there, I was just like had worked my way up to lead brewer. And was kind of just like running the production and helping with the scheduling there under Kevin. I was like, you know what, this is what I want to do. So I talked to my wife, and she's kind of like in corporate coaching a little bit. So I was like, let's put a business plan together because I would love to do this for myself. And so we went out to Bellingham and like did a little retreat and put together a business plan. And I was like, awesome, this is great. We had like the triggers in place for when we were going to do it. And we're going to find a spot. And if we find the perfect spot, we're going to jump. And I was like, it'll be 2 or 3 years. I'll get to like hang out, learn more, Wayfinder, do all this stuff for a couple more years. And it's going to be great. The time's going to be great.
Yeah.
It's going to be awesome. And then this place popped up like 3 months later.
And that was a trigger. That was like,
green
flag.
Yeah.
Ready, go.
Well, we said if I don't go, then I'm not going to go. So let's
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
And here we are.
That's
Here we
awesome.
are.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Funny how, like you have timelines and time frames of how you project things will go, and then something can just be like, oh, no, now it's
Yeah.
fast forward. It's
Yeah.
like, okay, jumping in 2 feet.
Yeah. There's no other way to do it. You got to go.
Yeah.
You can't, tiptoe into this kind of thing. Or maybe you can. I can't.
Yeah.
That's not who I am. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't seem like a hesitant person. So,
Yeah.
I hide it.
oh, okay, gotcha.
I definitely hide
You
it.
hide the anxiety.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Very good. Very good. So what was like for the name? Like, how did you come up with the name and artwork and the vision for it? Like, what are some of the strategies and inspirations behind it?
Yeah. The name just came from, I don't know. I guess I'm just kind of like shy. I am a little bit more reclusive. Like I don't social events. Like I like people, like being around people. But social events really drain me. So I do feel like I'm like I don't really know anybody because I'm like everybody you get invited to play things. You're like, yeah, I'll come, and then you're like, I'd rather go sit on my couch.
Get like
know?
anxiety
And
before it. You're like,
yeah,
oh no. Yeah.
So I came from that, and I just kind of like the contradiction of like recluse, but you're building a watering hole for people to come together.
That is,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Like I really like the
Interesting.
contradiction. I think there are a lot of contradictions in beer in general, but in craft beer in particular, because I think one of the funniest ones to me is like, hey, would you like to go drink at a factory?
Yeah.
Like, that's
Very, very
nuts.
true.
Yeah.
Very true. Yeah. All the big industrial
Yeah,
spaces.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where the name came from. Like I said, I grew up drinking Miller Lite. Kind of went into a weird, like not a weird place, but like I think it's kind of a normal craft beer progression where you're like, how can I brutalize my taste buds? You know. And so I went to that place and like loved it, and like a lot of sours, still like sours and all that stuff. But I don't know. I guess I kind of like working at Widmer and at Wayfinder and making like a lot of just. At Widmer, we did some, like fruit beers too, or whatever, but like a lot of just beer-flavored beer.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, this is what I actually like to drink. Like, I do still love sour beers, but this is what I care about more. So let's build a brewery where we're brewing beer-flavored beer.
Nice.
Beer flavored beer.
Yeah.
Great concept.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And and then the artwork, I worked with this great team, 2 Modern Times alum,
Oh,
called
okay.
Starkeep Studio, and they helped me come up with the logo. They did the artwork in here.
I was gonna ask about the mural.
Yeah, and they did some great work, and yeah, I had an idea in my head of what I wanted the artwork to be, and like we kind of worked through it, and what they came up with was way better. Like like somebody hiding behind a hand being a shy guy. Like, I think that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very cool.
I like that creative process.
Yeah.
So, at what point did the crossover happen for finding Richard to want to come and lead here as well?
Oh, you were very early stages still. You weren't
Yeah.
even ready to brew yet. I just had heard about you, reached out, and you
Yeah.
know, we met up, and I
And
think
that's
that's
that.
pretty much it, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty much it. Yeah. Another
Just got
circle up.
together, have a
Yeah.
beer. Yeah.
Great. Yeah, we didn't have anything. I don't even think we had a bar top on yet.
Yeah.
We weren't brewing beer yet. Yeah, and I definitely needed help.
Yeah.
Like, I like this part of the whole process is a complete mystery to me. Like,
Yeah.
like our other bartender, like our bartender Megan, her car broke down last week, and so I get a text from him, both Richard and Megan. They're like, "Hey, Megan's car broke down. Like, we might have to open late, or if you could get behind the bar." And I was like, out doing deliveries. And I was like, "Yeah, I can do that." And on the way back here, I was like, "Oh no, what am I going to do?"
You're just like trying to talk yourself up in the van. You're like, I can do
you
this.
can do it. You can do it. You can do it.
If I
I'm
can
like,
handle
what if the POS
caustic
doesn't work?
chemicals,
I'm like,
I can talk to people.
You're like,
Yeah.
I own this
Oh,
brewery.
yeah.
I built this brewery.
Yeah.
Like, I could do this.
And then I got into the parking lot, and Megan's car was here. And it's like, oh, thank God.
Yeah, huge sigh of relief. That is one thing. Yeah, being in the back all my life, I have major appreciation. My wife was a taproom manager, but for servers and taproom managers, worked retail at REI for a little bit, and man, sometimes there are people who are just having a bad day and they want to share it with somebody, and I don't like to be that person because I'm a pretty optimistic, positive type of guy.
Yeah.
It's like, I can't help you, I can't solve your problem, and they're like, I just want you to feel how I feel, and it's like, oh, but what if I'm having a good day? And I just want to maintain my peace. Yeah. So kudos to everybody out there still slugging away at it.
Thanks.
Yeah.
So what does the rest of the team look like? So we have the two of y'all here, and then you said Megan. Is there more to the team for Recluse?
Yeah, we've got an assistant brewer, Duncan, that
Yeah.
helps out Gus.
I tried to convince him to stick around, but he's also a shy guy. So
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
He's like, see ya, podcast.
Yeah.
Bye."
Yeah.
Exactly. He's out delivering in Bella.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, shucks.
Yeah.
We'll come find you, Duncan. Don't worry.
Yeah. Most brewers are, though. That has been funny, is sitting down with
Yeah.
a bunch of brewers like, I'm excited to talk, but I'll let you know I'm a big introvert and I don't like talking. And I'm like, that's totally okay.
Just
We
us.
can just, take it slow and take it easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, for sure. Anybody else?
We're
Just-
growing.
Just the growth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
we just hired Drew
Yeah,
Bradford.
Drew. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay.
Is he going to be front of house, back of house? Or
He's front of house.
Okay,
Yeah.
wonderful.
Single
Yeah.
Hill alum.
Yep.
So,
Oh,
Yeah.
rad.
Yep.
Wonderful.
Very cool. Very cool. That's awesome.
yeah,
Yeah.
and then we probably need to bring on a sales manager because I'm also not very good at that. So
Yeah.
we got to start
Yeah.
doing that. We gotta start-
Yeah,
we
and
need
I'm
help,
assuming
yeah.
y'all are doing self-distro, right?
In
in
Washington.
Washington.
In
Okay,
Oregon,
okay.
we're with Point Blank.
Oh,
So,
okay,
yeah.
with point blank distributing, yeah.
Yeah.
That's always such a hard thing to navigate. Obviously, like a lot of my tenures have been at big production facilities that have had their own distribution companies, but distro for smaller is it is a tangled web. It's
Yeah.
really tough. There's always my point is I just say I think if you're small enough, even though it requires man hours and maybe more of your time, like self distro to the point where it's like feasibly not possible to do so anymore. And the reasoning for myself is that
The
watching and
control.
working with smaller breweries, especially in consulting, that get washed into like distro files. Like,
Yeah.
they have their whole category. And it's like if you aren't up there and then you're competing with all these bigger breweries, if you're not just as popular as them, you're just stuck in like basically a cabinet folder. And
Yeah.
it's just like, it doesn't hit the list of things that they're told to be like, yeah, you guys should really hype up these brands, even if it goes against whoever the distro salesperson is, even if it goes against their own sort of like values of like, oh, I really like this, I think we should push this. No, they're just doing their job. They have
Yeah.
to do that. And that's
Yeah.
always like the big conundrum.
Totally.
We did start self-distro in Oregon because thankfully this year now Washington can, self-distribute.
Yeah, with the
to
new
Oregon.
law they got dealt
so
with.
we did that up to the point where we got in the big hitters, and then we couldn't manage to do
Couldn't
the
keep up,
deliveries
yeah.
as well anymore.
Absolutely. Well, that's good. So you guys did
Then
that.
we found a great partner to do the distribution
Yeah.
in Oregon.
Yeah.
And Point Blank's been great for
Point
us.
Blank's been awesome.
good.
So they really helped us grow in Oregon. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Nice.
then we handle Washington still.
Nice.
But it is hard sometimes because Gus has a full-time job. I'm a full-time tap
Yeah.
manager, and then like we're going out and doing sales.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
It's just like we need
Yeah.
we need a salesperson.
Need
So
a
The
yeah.
never-ending wearing of hats.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Do y'all have your own canning line, or do y'all have someone that comes in?
Cascadia comes in and does that for us.
They're great. I love the Cascadia boys.
Yeah, me too.
Sorry.
They do great stuff. DOs are always low.
Yeah.
Loss is always low. Yeah, canning's not. That's also another, 2, 3 full-time employees to
Yeah.
run a canning line. It's a specialized, that's a specialized set of skills.
Yeah. Do you try to do as many SKUs in one day as possible? No.
Do 1 or 2.
Okay,
just when
gotcha.
it fits. I mean, we try to. I think for being so new, we probably try to can too much, but I don't know. I really like having cans available.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the best things that's happened to like smaller breweries is being able to have a mobile canner come in, because I mean bottles are awesome, whatever, but like think about most of the time you're drinking out of a can or a bottle, like you're by a lake, you're out by the river,
Yeah.
you're outside. A can just makes more sense.
Small run canning, that's a game changer.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah, for
absolutely.
sure.
The fact that you can do just like 5 or 6 layers of cans, get like 50 or 60 cases. Yeah, it's super beneficial.
So
Yeah, very cool. How has the community kind of accepted y'all here in Vancouver?
we already have some pretty good regulars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very welcoming.
Yeah.
Love it. Yeah.
Are there any other breweries that are close by that, like, I don't know, just for the community? I haven't, like, checked the local area.
Washougal is actually, as soon as Grains of Wrath, which is 2 doors down to us in the same building, begins production, because they have a production space they're building right now.
Oh, that's
Okay.
right. They're moving.
When they're ready to go, Washougal will have the most breweries per capita in all of Washington.
Oh, nice.
No, per capita.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's only 5.
Yeah.
But 5440 is right down the way.
Okay.
They're like 2 buildings next to us.
Oh, okay.
We're building 20. They're like 15. Trapdoor,
Oh, yeah.
which is also in Vancouver, is just down in downtown Washougal. Then you have Doomsday.
Oh, and Shoe Brew.
And Shug, yep.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
Camus is close by too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a
very
nice
cool.
little community. Yeah, that way you're able to have like help. Like if you need, yeast, like, oh man, like something's not taking off. I need a yeast pitch,
Yeah, chemicals, yeast. I mean, advice. Bolt over at 5440 was really helpful in me actually signing the lease, because I don't know, you don't know people, and it's the port of Camas Washougal, so like they seem nice, but I'm like, is this too good to be true? And he's like, no, they're great landlord. So
Oh, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, the community.
Yeah, it's good to have some of that backing and knowledge. That's always something I found interesting, because that's been such a big part of craft beer is people helping each other out. I mean, that's literally like how it survived, That's the reason why also like why a lot of communities started up is you had a corner store and you also had like a local pub in your neighborhood. That's where people would go and talk and just not only shoot the shit, but help each other out. It's like, oh, you got a project or you need advice on this? Like, here you go. So it's cool to see even like smaller places like Washougal, even though it's bustling now, like 5, 6 breweries, that it still is tied in there. In Portland, working in breweries in there, sometimes it kind of got too much and overlapped. You had like too many voices and people giving you too much advice, and it was kind of like, okay, all right, I just maybe, all right, yeah, I'll just do it okay, I got it.
Yeah, you always love the unsolicited advice.
Yeah.
It's the best kind, right? Yeah.
You're like, thank you.
Yeah.
So great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big reason why we're doing the podcast is we love the community, and so we wanted to, one, be able to share their stories, the people that are amazing and awesome, but also be able to connect and help other people out as well, and for us to be around people that are inspiring to us and how and hear their story and share their story of growing their breweries and the communities that they're in and whatnot. So, that's why we love craft beer as well.
Oh, yeah. The people in it are awesome. Yeah. And I like how they're always slightly crazy, too. I think that's always, like, that's a big benefit. It really is. And it's always, like, sometimes it's in the oddest things. Like, one of my good friends, Gracie, she R&D brews at a Steeplejack, and she is awesome, and she's all about using kind of, like, botanical herbs and plants in beer. She's really psyched and excited about that. You might have met her maybe at Migration, because I've worked with, there's a lot of Migration people.
Yeah, I've met Gracie at least.
Yeah, there's Kevin, Gracie, and Whit. They were all at Steeplejack at one point.
All the Migration people
yeah,
there. Yeah.
But she was always kooky. Like she was somebody that would get hurt, like do something and hurt herself, and just like laugh hysterically. And I'm like, yeah, there's
Right on.
there's something going on in there, which is lovely because I'm the same way. When stuff gets really stressful, I'm like, everything's fine, and everything could be on fire behind me, and I'm like, yeah, we're gonna be just great. We're gonna get a beer after the end of the day, and then that's just how you
Beer
deal
folks
with
are
it.
the best folks,
Oh,
Yeah.
for sure.
Do you guys have any kind of like obstacles or hardship stories that are memorable or stand out to you when starting Recluse Brew Works that really you're like, okay, reminds me never to do that again?
Not really.
Okay.
I mean, I'm sure there are, but I guess I guess I got a bad memory.
No?
Maybe that's why I do this.
No, that's okay.
Yeah.
It's totally fine.
There were a lot of sleepless nights, but and
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
I could have been easier on myself. Maybe that's the biggest mistake, is I could have probably been easier on myself. But
Okay, yeah. So not be like your own
Uh,
harshest critic.
yeah, but I like I said, I was a college sprinter, and I
Uh-huh.
think my whole life I've just been a sprinter in every aspect, where I'm like, got to do it now. It's got to happen right now. We got to do all this right now. Everything's got to happen right now,
Gotcha.
as
Okay.
fast as you can. When you
Completely
get tired,
understand that. Yeah.
that's it. But I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
moves fast, but it's also not without planning.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
very
Yeah,
clear.
it's not erratic,
Vision.
yeah.
There's
Yeah.
a vision here. Like there were hurdles for sure. Permitting and everything
Permitting,
else,
yeah.
building out,
Mhm.
especially because we don't really know what we're doing half the time with building out stuff.
Yeah.
But like none of it was bad.
Yeah,
It
don't
was
look too
just-
close to the trim in the bathroom.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, for sure.
Yeah, I would say, the permitting, I would have started sooner. That's the biggest
Sure.
biggest mistake. And then I probably would have hired my architect sooner. Mostly that kind of stuff. Where
Okay.
it's like I can get by with some of these drawings on my own. And you're like, oh, no, why? Why do that?
Yeah, it's like
This
why
person
give
does this
yourself
for a
that work
living.
at that
Like,
point.
yeah, like,
Yeah, for
So,
sure. That makes
yeah.
sense. What are some of the how do you plan out what you're gonna brew? Do you have like a system or different things that you're like, what inspiration do you have for
Yeah.
what beers you're gonna
you
brew?
remember when he said I planned things out really well?
Yep.
The brewing schedule's kind of been chaos lately because I mean we started brewing September 28th, I think, September 29th maybe.
Yeah.
So it's kind of just been like, let's figure out what works and
First year.
first
Yeah.
yeah. So it's kind of just been like, all right, we got lager every other week because that's how we can keep our yeast alive, and then we're just throwing ales in there here and there because we're trying to do mostly lagers. Yeah, we're kind of finally getting to the point where we're like, all right, we think these are going to be the couple beers that we keep on all the time.
Kind of like your core brands.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
but until like throughout the winter, it was just like, let's see what works, let's see what's good, and
Yeah.
luckily, I mean, almost everything's been really well received. We've been able to sell everything that we make. So one of the beers I like, it was I think the fourth or fifth turn on the system was a porter, and we have a 15-barrel brew house, and 30-barrel tanks. And I was like, oh man, I love porter. We're making 2 turns of this, and we did 2 turns. As soon as it was full, I was like, what have I done? We're brand new. I think I can sell 30 barrels of porter.
We're close.
And yeah, we're about a half
it's
keg
about
away.
done.
So,
I saw the
congrats.
porter on there. I was like, I want to try a porter.
yeah, so that one worked out, I guess. But yeah,
Good.
yeah, we're to the point right now where we're like, all right, this Pilsner's going to be what we're making a lot. We're going to make this lager a lot.
I feel
this
like
IPA,
your first like couple of years is like gathering a bunch of information to see like what is steady and sells consistently, where you can hit like spikes, and then all of it sometimes too is seasonal. Like
timing for sure.
to me like springtime, I think of like Maibach because I love German beer and I love Bock beer. So I'm like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
everybody should do a Maibach. But I'm like, nobody wants to drink that when it's like sunny out and
Yeah, I
everybody's
know.
battling their seasonal depression, getting their vitamin D. They don't want to sit with a Maibach, something kind of like malty sweet and
Yeah.
ester. They're like, no, I want something light. Reminds me of summertime. So.
Yeah, we got one in the tank right now. It
Yeah.
should come out.
Oh, you have a
early-
Maibach in the
early
tank?
May,
Huh?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
I
we-
spoke it
he's-
into existence.
Yeah.
He's like, yes, we're
Yeah.
gonna come back for that.
It's a little bit more amber than I think traditional, but so we're calling it Springbok. But
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
That'll
Wonderful.
be great. That'll be perfect. That'll be perfect.
Yeah,
Yeah.
those labels just came in. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. Do y'all do food, or is it like you can bring in your own food?
Outside food's always welcome here, and some folks do a variety of things. Like they'll maybe go to a restaurant and bring something in, or leftovers from home. But on the weekends, we try to have pop-ups and food
Oh,
trucks.
nice.
So that's been a big thing. This
Yeah.
weekend is packed: Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you feel like you have a lot of people? Do you think you'll have a lot of people coming? Because I mean, there's so much hiking down this way, and then
Yeah, I mean, literally both sides just going
both
out
sides.
here.
I
is
mean,
just-
everything. Like, do you feel like you're gonna have a lot of people like coming to like grab 4-packs or like? I don't know. I just feel like
yes.
you're so close to the river that and all the hiking that there's going to be so much activity of people like going and hiking for the day and then coming having a beer. I mean, that's what
Yeah.
we always would do. We would go hike and we would know what brewery we were going to at the end of the hike,
Exactly.
So,
Yeah, it's already happening.
Yeah.
Nice.
Post hike, people coming in over to the left side of us. There's Cottonwood Beach,
Oh, yes.
and William Clark Park. So that's
have
a
a good
big
park over there, too.
area.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
always
nice.
full when the sun starts to come out. And then like right behind our backyard is Stegerwald. It's a nature preserve. So that's nice. For one, like you can go on a hike before work.
Yeah,
is
very
great.
true.
So you just park here and walk over there.
Gotcha.
When you're over there, you see our building.
Oh,
so it's
right.
kind of perfect. So yeah, we have that, and then you're already built in with the traffic on the way to the gorge that we had talked about earlier.
Yeah.
So yeah, and it's already happening. So it's great. People at the park look up beer, and you see that there's breweries nearby.
Heck yeah, that's
cool.
that's super promising and super exciting. And honestly, it's good that too. Like the past 2 to 3 weeks, it's been like nice weather mixed in with some like cloudy days. But like we were up in Tacoma area doing a bunch of podcasts and Know About Brewing. We went out there in North Bend, which is awesome. That gets out towards like Rattlesnake Ridge, Mount Si, and it was a sunny day,
So
and
sunny.
everybody was
Everybody
out.
was outside.
Nice.
Yeah, it was, and so I was just like, oh, it's coming. Unfortunately for these poor breweries, they're like, we're going to prepare for it, but you never can. You just get slammed. It's just one day the light switch goes on. Yeah,
Yeah.
it will.
It's part of the reason, like honestly, like so we don't have a kitchen. It helps.
Oh yeah.
So there's no food running. So it's like when people are in line for beer, they're patient as
Yeah.
long as you're actively helping them. If they see somebody just kind of hanging out, that's not good.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, if you're helping people, they'll be patient. Like
Yeah.
yeah, they want a beer, they're gonna get a beer.
Heck
So
yeah.
you just gotta move through the line.
Yeah.
Yeah. What kind of like do y'all see y'all having any like activities or I don't know? Okay,
Yeah, big
Richard is like
We had alpacas
this is
this
what I'm
last weekend.
planning.
We just had alpacas.
You had
You had
alpacas?
here?
Yeah,
Oh,
there's
that's
a,
awesome.
Like a-
alpaca farm called G Tribe in Vancouver.
Uh-huh.
So they shear them and they do the yarn and everything. So they were just here this past weekend.
So
that
you
was
like come and
amazing.
pet the alpacas?
Yeah,
Oh my
we set up their
gosh.
pen
I'm so
outside.
sad
You
I
can
missed
pet the
this.
alpacas. You can get selfies with them.
Yeah.
They had
That's
like
great.
hats made
Yeah.
out of their wool too.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Okay, so they also had like some of their goods there as
Yeah,
well.
they did a little education.
Oh,
really
that's
nice.
so
folks.
Yeah.
They're
See-
coming back. I just booked them again for July.
Nice.
So for the summer solstice.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so they're going to
June
come back for
21st.
that. Was it June? Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, June 21st, not June.
That's awesome.
So they're coming back. We've got a 5K happening coming up in a couple weeks.
Are you guys sponsoring it, putting it on, or?
We are the location, so it's going to start here and it's going to end here, and
Oh,
then you
nice.
get beer included.
Nice.
So that is with the Washington Brewery running series.
Okay.
So they're going to handle all the running stuff because I don't know how to do that. I don't even like to run.
Yeah.
Though I enjoy people that do.
Yeah.
I will
Yes.
provide
Yeah.
your liquid hydration
Exactly.
later. Yeah.
So yeah, we got lots of stuff in the works.
Oh, very cool.
Awesome.
If
That's
anybody
exciting.
knows, since you're listening, I'm trying to get professional wrestlers to come out here. The closest people are in Portland. They're cool, but they're not licensed for Washington. The closest people in Washington are in like probably Tacoma, which
Yeah.
is a long trek. So
Okay.
if anyone's
It's not
like, hey,
that
there's some
long.
wrestlers like
We
Lucha
just-
Libre in Vancouver, let me know.
Okay.
Like, let's do this.
Actually,
Okay.
Chris and JD, who I both worked at Seven Seas, are
Yes.
big into like the local wrestling scenes. I might ask them
Please.
and forward the information on to you. I love that.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Lots of education, which I think is great. I mean, even about stuff that's just like totally different. It doesn't always have to be about beer. Alpacas, wrestling, like it's all these things are like interesting to people. You know, I'm not a huge wrestling fan, but I went to the Guar Bar. I was at a wedding in Richmond, Virginia. We went to the Guar Bar, and I was just like, this is just so cool. I was like, I don't know what's going on, or I don't know any of the lore of the stories, but the fact that people were so into it, I was like, that got me excited.
Good,
So
good.
yeah.
Yeah, there you go. I know we talked about this a little bit. So since spring is coming and everything, so you talked about potentially having an outdoor space. Like, what do you foresee for your outdoor patio areas?
Pretty simple. Just for this summer, picnic tables, Adirondack chairs. We got to, per the Washington Liquor and Cannabis Board, we have to have like a 42-inch tall barrier. So I think we're just going to put like chicken wire up.
Okay.
Um,
And do something like this?
I don't know if we'll even make it as pretty as this.
It was a bit of a pain.
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah, but just a barrier. I mean, we were thinking about doing barrels with like line in between them. I know that's like a popular look, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we'll
we gotta. I gotta do that this weekend actually. So
Oh.
we're
Yeah.
gonna find out quick. I think it's gonna end up being the chicken wire because I think it's gonna be the simplest to be able to put up, and I think we'll have to like. We won't have to, but I think we'll want to take it down or at least shrink it a little bit in the winter because
Yeah.
we really don't have a structure. I don't think our landlord would like us to build a structure out here for the winter.
Gotcha.
For people with dogs, and I mean, we're getting close to the gorge, right? And Washougal is
Mm-hmm.
it's the gateway to the gorge, and it's windy and cold and rainy and
Yeah. Just gotta
Gotcha.
pull it
That
off.
makes sense.
So,
So just
yeah.
during the nice season,
yeah.
sunny
Well, that
season.
makes sense. Plenty of people do that, and also just like meeting the requirement of like, yes, that 42-inch, barrier.
Yeah.
Sometimes if it is able to, people will make it nicer, but there's also plenty of breweries that do that. They throw it up for the nice seasons, take it down
Yeah.
for the cold seasons.
And like the chicken wire can look nice. It's easy to replace. It's like I was thinking about the lines in between the barrels, but we're right on there's a parking lot right here.
Yeah.
There's a couple other businesses. Some of the people drive a little faster than they probably should, and they're like, it's a brewery. There's families. There's gonna be kids. Like maybe more. Is
even
better.
make like a chicken wire playpen for the kids
Yeah,
at the
right.
gate.
Yeah.
You just drop them off in there, and the parents sit separately.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
It's
sure.
a big sand pit.
Yeah, exactly. Have
Yeah.
one of those giant hamster like water bottles in there that they can get water out of.
And it all comes around again because Gus built a chicken coop.
Yeah,
Yes,
so
there
now-
you
it
go.
all
There you
comes
go. Yeah, I didn't
full
think about that.
circle.
Yeah.
I grew up
Yeah.
in a big family, in a Mormon family, so I'm used to a bunch of kids running around. And when I got into like beer, I was like, oh, I'm so excited to be back at house. I don't have to. It's not that I don't like children, but I'm like, when you're sitting and drinking, and there's just kids like screaming and running around, it's not my favorite ambiance. But Seven Seas Brewing, where I started, we got the Heidelberg building, had this huge tap
Huge.
room, could fit 600 people.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, some days it was after work, it was just like a drunk daycare. The parents are like having fun, but there's like 12 kids. Like it's like Lord of the Flies, just like bouncing around, and you just be sitting there trying to have your shifty. And I was just like, oh man,
I
I
know.
feel like I'm back in church
I get it.
again. Yeah, but again, love kids.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah, yeah.
not anything against them.
I've got an almost 3-year-old, and he's a little too comfortable.
Okay.
Right, because he got to be around while it was getting built and like while it's starting up before the tap room was even open
Yeah.
and all that. So we have like a super luxurious employee lounge back there. It's just a picnic table and an old bench out of a van.
Heck yeah,
Um,
I love it.
so we usually have to like sit back there when he's around because otherwise he just ends up running back there and I'm like, hey man, you can't. First of all, other kids get ideas and like you can't be doing that too because I'm trying to relax and enjoy
Yeah.
myself as well and
Yeah,
not chase you around.
stopping on
making
the
sure-
forklift.
Yeah,
just
make
like
sure
blowing-
you're dipping your
blowing up.
hand in a bucket of caustic.
Caustic, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So
You just look over and you're like, no.
yeah, great. I was hoping you wouldn't have eczema, but you probably will now.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That's
I like that you think we have a forklift already. though.
Yeah, that's true.
Dreaming.
Yeah.
One
Yeah.
day.
Well, yeah, I'm putting it out there to the
Yeah.
universe
Yeah.
that everybody should have a forklift. It was fun.
Yeah, they were fun.
They were
It would,
fun.
it would be better.
So one of the questions that we love to ask people is if you were to give advice to yourself as a younger person at any point in your younger years than you are now, what would that piece of advice be that you would give yourself?
I don't know if I would. I don't know if I would have listened.
That's scary.
I don't know if I would have listened.
Oh, okay.
Number one, and number two, I guess I think like a lot of the struggle and pain is part of what makes you become who you are. So I like where I'm at. So I'm like I don't think I would.
I'm glad that you answered that way because I was going to say the same thing. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, no, nothing changes. Like everything
Mhm.
you had to go through gets you here.
Yeah.
Yeah, things aren't always easy for me, my childhood. Yeah, but no, it's you get through it if you can.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's worth it.
We've literally asked this question to I don't even know how many people, and I've literally never heard that. And so
Oh,
for
right.
the
That's
both
why
of
we
y'all,
work- that's
I
why we
know,
work
like
so well
so for the
together.
Yeah.
both of y'all, like
It's a
I've-
good fulcrum
I
between
don't
both
think
of
we've.
you.
I've literally there you go. I've literally never heard anyone say that. That's very profound. Yeah, very interesting.
Yeah, and it makes sense because
Yeah.
there are things that I think that like I would want to tell myself, but I wouldn't have learned those lessons had I not gone through like horrible bosses or bad management or even just like terrible work environments. Because now where I'm at, I was thinking about this the other day, and I told my wife, it's like, I love brewing in the process, but I've come to love like the people and community more, and it's like that's why I want to do these things now. Because before I used to want to be like, I just want to work in a brewery. That's all I want to do.
Yeah.
And it evolved, and I kind of felt like my ambition or passion had gone away, and I thought I was like getting jaded. I was like, no, it just evolved and changed into something
Yeah.
different where it's like I can do these things, yes, but the people I meet along the way, those are the people I want to grow and like nourish and flower and protect to keep doing their awesome things. So
Love
for
that.
sure.
yeah,
That's awesome.
Yeah, no, that's really good. I'm gonna be like nervous to ask that question again.
no, I think it's a great one, but yeah,
no,
we'll
for
just be
sure.
more ready for it.
Yeah, no, definitely. Well, is there anything else that like is something unique about Recluse or about what y'all are doing that you'll like to share?
Besides just putting out really good, easy, quaffable beer.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, beer flavored beer for people who like beer.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much. Do you have a sticker that
Make that
says
as a
Sure,
t-shirt.
sure.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, we just did that
beer?
shirt.
I love that so much.
I don't know. I'm just trying to make a place that's easy to hang out at, some beer that's easy to drink. I think we're both pretty hard on ourselves, so we want to make stuff easy for other people.
Yeah.
I guess. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, you guys have like a
So-
humble confidence around you,
Yeah.
which I find like super enlightening. Because
Yeah.
usually it's like, yeah, dude, we're here to like shock the world and make a change. It feels very aggressive, which is great
Yes.
if that's
Yeah.
what you want to do. But I think it's also you can have the same effect as opposed and do it the opposite way, like just being humble and being soft and be like, yeah, this is what we offer and this is who we are. And
Yeah.
if you like it, great. And if you don't, that's okay.
I guess I love, I think that's part of why I love beer is because it can be good enough to be, that's probably the tables.
It's all
I was
good.
about to say Duncan.
Yeah. Come out, say hi.
It's good enough to be, when it is good, I should say, when it's very good. You can sit around, you can talk about it, you can fight about it, you can agree about it, whatever, fawn over it, all those things. But if it's also that good, it can also sit in the background and
Yeah.
facilitate your conversations or help you relax or reassure you that, hey, life ain't so bad. I got a treat right now,
Nice.
But yeah, I don't know. I guess it's at the end of the day, like that was one of my big takeaways from Widmer was like, this is just a job for some people.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel that way, but that's okay too. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. And then also, it's like you always make mistakes. Everybody's gonna make mistakes.
Yeah.
Made some mistakes there, and the guy who was training me at the time, David Lopez, looked at me and he was like, Riley, like he was trying to reassure me, but he was like, yeah, it's probably not a big deal, but like think about this, you just ruined more beer than most breweries make in a month. And I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah. Nice.
But at the end of the day, it's just beer.
Yeah,
So,
very true.
It can be the biggest, best hype beer that's so expensive, but it's still just beer.
Yeah.
And the same for wine, and the same for spirits and food and everything. Like,
It's the people you share it with,
Yeah,
the community
exactly.
that you're
Yeah.
around.
Yeah, that has a good. I like that point.
I do too.
Yeah,
That's
we
really
get so
awesome.
worried about like the process and what you produce, you almost forget that, like at the end of the day, it's like you're a human just like living your existence. That's not everything. The world's not going to stop or end.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's so good to like keep in mind and just like have in the forefront of like, I think just being able to present things to the people who are coming in and to be like, they're coming in because they want to drink some good beer that
Yeah.
tastes like beer and be around people who they enjoy and have a good time and maybe pet some alpacas or watch some wrestlers. You never know. But
Hopefully.
yeah, I love that
it'd
so
actually be
much.
cool to have alpaca wrestling where they ride it in. You could do like the lucha libre. I know they have like midget wrestling. That's maybe that's not the right term for it, but yeah, you get them right in on the alpacas and then have like a duel match, a cage match.
gosh.
That would be
Yeah.
awesome.
That is unhinged.
Have you ever heard an alpaca?
No.
Heard like the
noises
sounds?
they make?
No.
That was the most shocking to me. Like, they are very fluffy, and they're very calm, and they're very cuddly and cute and all that.
Very
But the
vocal.
noises they make, they're super vocal. It's like, I don't even know how to describe it, but look it up.
We'll
It's
look
very
it up.
adorable.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, YouTube alpaca noises.
Weird grumble.
I
Yeah.
won't make
Yeah.
you do this on the podcast.
Yeah,
No, I was about to try.
Yeah,
but I'm
yeah,
like, it's gonna be so
Give me
weird.
an impression. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a
Wonder.
Star Wars creature.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Oh, okay.
No, I haven't ever heard an alpaca.
Yeah.
That's so wild. I am gonna Google that now. Everyone's gonna go Google it now.
It'll be our late night YouTube
Mhm.
wormhole.
Yeah. Wormhole.
Alpaca sounds.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess the owners of the alpacas, because I was like, the sounds they make are like, I don't know what I thought they sounded like, but this is cuter than ever. And the one guy who owned them, he was like, you should hear them when they're mating. I'm like, oh man.
Oh,
He'll
I
just send you an audio file. Check this out. Yeah.
Oh man, that's so wild. I love that so much. Well, we wanted to give some time. Is this a good time to?
Yeah, we're right at an hour.
Okay, perfect. At the end of the podcast, we always love to give you some time of like some upcoming. Like I know you've booked the alpacas and hopefully some wrestlers. But is
Yeah.
there any beers that you're really excited about? Any collaborations
Festivals or
yeah,
things?
anything that you're pumped about?
Beers, we got that
Springbuck.
Springbuck coming out early May. It's gonna be pretty good. Fire and Flowers. Look for it in cans and on draft.
Nice.
Um,
Belmont Station, pick it up.
Yep, we will be looking.
I used to work at Belmont Station, and I was like, buy this beer, and they're like, okay,
Yeah.
and I'm like, no, you should buy this beer.
They're great supporters.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I'm really stoked about the beer we brewed this week. First time we made it, it's American Style Pilsner. Playing around with some new malts, a new lager yeast. Yikes.
Ooh. Fun and scary.
Yeah, but I'm really stoked about that. That should be coming out in about a month and a half. And then we brewed a hazy, maybe, last week. We'll find out if it's hazy or not. I might not.
Might be too clear.
Might not know how to do it.
Sort of hazy.
Yeah, sort of hazy. If it's we just call it an IPA, so if it's not hazy, then
There you go.
no skin off my back. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm excited about that. We don't make a ton of IPAs, so when they come out, I'm always like, please.
It's going to be great.
Yeah,
It's going to be
Yeah, it is actually. It's still
Yeah.
really fantastic.
Good.
Yeah.
So awesome. That's
Good.
awesome. I did forget to ask a question. Do
Go
you
ahead.
mind if I go back?
Yeah.
Where, do you try to locally source as much as you can? Like, how do you find your ingredients to bring in and your yeast? Like, what was that process like?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry,
Oh,
I forgot
yeah.
to ask it
Yeah.
earlier.
Totally. We work a lot with Link out in Spokane. Our premium American style lager uses probably 20 to 30% of Link Genie pills.
Oh, awesome.
In the grist, I think it's a really important part. It's got a little bit more nuttiness, a little bit more earthiness than a lot of the other malts that we use. We also use a lot of Great Western. I know it's a huge maltster, but they are in Vancouver. So.
Yeah.
And I do really like their Great Western Superior Pilsen malt. I think it's a really great blank canvas. Really
and it
consistent,
performs well.
And the runoff is amazing with
Yeah.
it, in my opinion. So we blend that into that beer as well. We use a lot of Wireman products. And then hops, I really like the team at Hollingberry. We worked with them a lot at Wayfinder, and then
Where are they out of again? Sorry.
they're in Yakima.
Yakima.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
And then, I don't know, we were at the Firestone Walker Beer Fest Invitational, whatever thing, and that whole team they were so nice and cool, and you would think they'd be like big egos, but no, they were awesome. They were so nice to everybody, and they were like the life of the party. So I like working with them. I think they also have their European hops are some of my favorite as far as selection. So
Nice.
good on the selection team over there. And then we've recently started working with Crosby more. Shocker. But their American varieties are really great too. I don't know. I guess I'm more of a process brewer where I'm like, the raw materials definitely matter, but we can do decoctions. We do a lot of step mashing. I'm like, we can kind of handle anything that we get. And I think the process is sometimes equally or more important than the raw materials.
Gotcha.
You
As in,
want
you
treat 'em
can
right.
finesse it and
Yeah,
change
if
the
we get-
materials as much as you
Yeah.
want, but the process is really where it lies in.
Yeah, I think it's super important. And I mean, I said that after I was like, we blend 3 Pilsner malts together. I'm like, so,
No, that's good.
Another
It's
contradiction.
still a process.
Yeah.
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 There you go. Very
Good.
cool. Yeah, sorry, I meant to ask that earlier and I totally forgot. So,
Don't be.
Yeah. But thank you all so much for having us.
Thank you for your
you.
time.
Yeah.
Come see the alpacas June 21st.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Summer solstice at
21st.
Recluse Beer Works.
We
Look
gotta-
for their
This
new beer
should-
dropping.
This podcast should be out by then.
Oh, it will be.
Yeah,
Oh,
for
nice.
sure.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Oh, yeah.
Perfect timing.
Perfect
on.
timing. So thank you all so much for having us.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Thank you, friends.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Cheers.
Cheers.